All right, good morning, everybody. We do have a little bit of data to cover here. Let me pull that up. We had the employment change above expectations, average hourly earnings better than last report. There's no expectation on that one. Oh, this is October data. They're giving us the old data on these ones. Non-farm minus 105. Average hourly earnings 0.1, worse than expected. Core retail sales better than expected. Non-farm for the recent month, better than expected, 64K. Retail sales 0%, over 0.1. Unemployment rate 4.6 over 4.5, so higher than expected. That's a bad one. And then that is it for the pre-market. We do have data coming out at 9:45. We'll keep an eye on that. Running a little late, so let me quickly do our trade plan here. I believe it's basically the same as last night. Let's see here. So I said holding above 80, which at the time was around that, where the gap, the high was. So holding above that, we're looking for 900 and 922. That is still good. Holding below 34, which is the value high of yesterday, we are looking for that retrace down to 810, possibly 791. That is still good as well. Right now we have a kind of like a D shape, but it's slowly turning into a capital B. By the way, we did fill in the rollover gap, or most of it. There's still a little bit left. We still have to go down to 824. Okay, looking at our plan for NASDAQ here, holding above 320, which is that gap level where we gapped up. We're looking for 425 and 667. That is the value high of Thursday. Holding below 80, which is the value low of yesterday. We're going to start to push downward into those lower value levels, possibly extending our lower tail down to 25,000 and 861. Also showing a D shape that you could argue is a capital B as well, kind of shifting into a capital B. By the way, I am using the new contract now, so continuous on TradingView has rolled over to the H contract. Bouncing off VWAP out of the open here, but we are just rotating today and yesterday's value. It's still just very neutral. Looks like there's a lot of sellers towards this value high of today. Also protecting the gap here. So here's the gap up level. You can see we were down here, gapped up, filled in most of it. There's a little bit left. Tried to run into that gap level again, and then sold it. So this gap up is being protected. Same thing with NASDAQ. The difference is the gap has been filled in on NQ. So gap up here. This is the original level. Filled in. Retested it. Sold. So gap up is being protected. Yeah, a little bit of data at 9:45. We'll keep an eye on that. A lot of bearish delta. Look at these block trades. So we talked about yesterday how those block trades were not there, even though they were there all last week, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And yesterday they were kind of missing. And we were talking about how they were probably waiting for the data either today or Thursday. And now we see those 500 contract block trades again, same size that we were seeing last week. They're just barely above 500 every time. It's like 520, 530, 510. They're also almost always sells. So could that be somebody just unloading a bullish position? Could that be somebody loading up on a bearish position? We don't know, right? But either way, this consistent of a sell is typically bearish. Still protecting VWAP. Those block trades are selling into VWAP. But VWAP is being heavily protected by the buyers. More block trades coming in. The block seller or sellers, we're not really sure. But they are not allowing it to stay above like 75. Yeah, it could be to do with the carry trade. Supposedly the carry trade's not as strong now because of that. It kind of died like, what, a year ago or a year and a half ago. Didn't fully die, but it scared people enough that it wasn't too strong. Good morning, everybody. Wanatachi, TS, Banana, Ordinary, Leo, Marcel, Morris, Titus, Lubomir. Good morning, Future, HC, Ram, Scott, Jose, Life, Roman, Ike, Greg, Ken, Good morning, Igor, Trevor, Caliber, Larry, Roma, Darius, AT, Orion. Good morning, Creso, LDM. Why don't I adjust the rollover for the continuous? I don't know. I've just always not used it, so I'm just kind of used to using the regular chart. Just kind of a habit at this point. Good morning, Michael. Filling yesterday's close gaps. Yeah, we are kind of filling in the gaps. Yeah, they're almost fully filled in. Good morning, Techie, eBay, Estevan. Good morning, Tom, Lucio. Good morning, Samo, Ryder, Vanquish, no name. Builds, future trading. Good morning, everybody. What time is it? We got about 5 minutes left. 5 minutes until that until that data comes out. Looks like the market's just kind of chopping around waiting for that morning data. Not a lot of limit buying down here. You can see they're just kind of blowing through this level. They're not seeing any nodes developing. They are front running the data a little bit. Couple minutes left. Looks like they're scared of the data as well. Liquidity being pulled. Trying to build a little node here at 53. There's 1 minute left until that data comes out. NASDAQ still protecting VWAP. ES has kind of lost VWAP already. The manufacturing PMI was 51.8 over 52, so almost exactly as expected. The services were 52.9 over 54, so lower than expectations. Seems the market has taken that a bit bearishly so far. The downside magnet is not as strong on NASDAQ because you have filled in that gap already. On ES, we have a little bit of that gap left open from the rollovers, this little piece right here. Delta being heavily skewed to the downside today because of all those block trades. Liquidity still gone. Very common for liquidity to not be great on rollover week because they're kind of mixed, right? They have some on the old contract, some on the new contract. A lot of buyers at 55, 57, 59. You can see the tape's getting very green. Here's a retest of VWAP. We're getting back into that territory where all the block trades are coming in. Are they going to keep protecting this 65 and 71 area? I'm not a metals guy, so I can't really tell you what's going on in that market. I think the metals have just been in a distribution for so many years. They were distributing for like 3 or 4 years. They were stuck in a range for quite a while. And now they are finally breaking out of that range. So there is a lot of built up buy pressure that is just exploding gold and silver the last, like, what, year or so. And there's a lot of, like, geopolitical shit going on in the world that's just making metals a bit more desirable. But yeah, I'm not a macro metals guy, so I can't really tell you the ins and outs of, like, what the hell's going on with that market. It's pretty, it's like a squeeze almost. People are, like, trying to call it a silver squeeze or a gold squeeze. And it kind of is to a certain degree. Like I said, the sellers were trying to hold it down for like 4 years. if you look at the long-term chart. And now they're finally being taken out. But that's what metals like to do. Metals like to find a range and sit in it for a very, very long time. And then they have like one explosive move. I think metals do that because they have a lot of interest across the board. Like you have the older traders, the millennial traders, you have the younger traders. Not so many of the younger guys. Younger guys are more in crypto. But I think metals are just attractive across the board for many people. It's not like one subset trading them. It goes very mainstream as well. Like when metals started doing very good, look at what happened. You had like lines out the door from gold stores. People panic buying. You even have Costco selling gold and silver, right? It gets very mainstream. But that's also why the crashes hurt so many people. Because it is so mainstream. Gold is back to that prior high, so keep an eye on that. Possibly looking for another breakout on that soon. The breakout level I have, if it goes for another impulse, would be around 5,000. The fake out level is around 4,500. Impulse levels on silver would be around 72 and then around 78. Those block trades are no longer coming in for now. Seller's not holding you down. Top Step having some big issues today, gotcha. Yeah, be careful if you guys are trading on Top Step. I don't personally use them. Block trades coming back. Sorry, guys. Still slowly recovering from being sick. Still have a little bit of a cough. Looks like those block traders are still not allowing it to stay above 75. Possibly being pulled down to that gap still. The buyers are not able to hold any major nodes on the top side. Yeah, Delta you kind of have to ignore right now because there's so many block trades coming in. Still just rotating. Here's that value high at 78. So until they hold above 78 or below 56, about a 20-point rotation. Until they hold outside that value, you're just stuck in this chop. Looks like they're going to attempt to break the high here. We'll see. Good morning, Mauser XP. No, I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it on the calendar for today. Looks like they're selling that value high, which they should be, right? We are in a rotation. Looking for that possibly 64. The full session, I believe, is around like 58, 56. Here is VWAP, and then keep an eye on that value low. You are finishing the cash rotation, but it's bouncing a little bit early from the full session. I guess it did move up, so you could say that has hit it. It moved up to 58. Man, this overlapping range is just getting ridiculous at this point. It's almost been a month. We've been stuck in this same range. Yeah, it's been 20 days. Starting to push away from the POC a little bit of that range. If you can stay above like 85, 90, might start pushing that high. But you would be betting on something that has failed for nearly a month. Okay, so we are still rotating, but we are also putting in higher lows and higher highs. So it looks like it might want to break balance to the upside if these block trades don't keep holding you down. There's so many bearish block trades that come in as you're trying to push up. Still just rotating here, hit the value high, now you're back down. A little bit more imbalanced on NASDAQ. NASDAQ obviously showing most of the action towards the high, but the value high is still being protected. Once again, the pre-market traders had the the cleaner trend. Here is that value low, so we'll see if the buyers come back in. I lost count. I think this is like our 4th rotation or so. Still not seeing any large clusters of buy delta. The delta is definitely being skewed. It's being skewed by the block trades. But you're still not seeing any clusters of bullish nodes. Starting to pressure this value low here. You should be seeing a lot more buyers down here to rotate back to that value high. You're currently not seeing it. Keep an eye on VWAP on NASDAQ coming up, 271. Still holding outside that value low, possibly getting one directional here, but there is a massive lack in volume down here. Here's VWAP on NASDAQ. Still very one directional for what it should be doing. It should be rotating, right? You're kind of being pulled down to that overnight low, possibly that gap fill. The breakout node is around 54. They need to protect that if they want to continue to be one directional and trend here. Still very one-directional here. You have a pretty big sell. Possibly was a wall on this 50 level here. Pretty sure it was a wall. Yeah, it was. There was a buy wall there getting taken out. Good morning, PL. You can usually tell it's a wall when it looks like this, where it's just hitting that same level over and over again. Excuse me, getting very one-directional here, losing that value low. Seeing even more blocks coming in, 1,000 contract at 45. Getting close to yesterday's value, also that rollover gap. I'm assuming if you adjust for the contract change, we are already in yesterday's value, obviously. You can see we're kind of overlapping yesterday. If you look at the actual contract, not the continuous. So a bit more bearish if you look at just the contract. Because we retested yesterday's value. And we are failing it, right? If you look at the continuous contract, we gapped up, tried to fill in the gap, and now we're pushing towards that gap and the prior value from the old contract. So they're both bearish, whether you look at the continuous or not. Probably a bit more bearish if you look at just the contract. Here is that overnight low coming in. Still not seeing a lot of limit buyers. You're not seeing those bullish clusters. You're not seeing big nodes as you're falling. Keep an eye on this 30-minute close, closing in about 4 minutes, possibly creating some single prints going back to the 40s. Still very one directional here. Staying below the ADMA. 5-minute highs being protected. We're not reclaiming that 30-minute low. Now this is the overnight low and also the gap being tested. Now you're starting to see the buyers on the tape, possibly repairing that 30-minute candle. Also possibly just buying the overnight low. Keep an eye on that 24. We have not tested it so far on this break of balance. Bouncing off that point of origin, which was that overnight low. They are respecting these prior lows. Because the first point of origin we marked out had a really nice bounce around the open. And now they're respecting the overnight low one. The buyers are there. They're just waiting for those extreme levels. I don't have a poor high on mine, but settings might vary. Good morning, Samuel. Keep an eye on VWAP, possibly a bear flag in a VWAP. This is obviously a bit aggressive. Not the best variation of it. It also could be just returning to balance as well. Top Step still having issues. What's it doing? Is it just kicking you out of the charts or something? It's not loading, not letting you log in. Gotcha. It won't let you close positions. Do they do rollbacks when stuff like that happens? Or if you have trades open, you're kind of just screwed. They just don't count the losing trades. Gotcha. So basically, if you were winning the trades, you're kind of screwed because you can't close them. They're just completely different markets. Like they're tracking the same thing, but they're just traded differently. They have different people trading them. They've got different liquidity pools. They've got different market makers, et cetera, et cetera. They're calculated, probably like if you go deeper into like their internal system, how they're calculated, it's not exactly the same, like tick by tick. Yeah, long story short, they're just different markets. It's like ES and SPY, right? They track the same thing, but they're not the same. I wouldn't call them drama queens. Having trading issues like from the broker or from the service outages, it's a pain in the ass. It's like one of the most annoying things you can deal with. I personally hate technical issues, so I understand. Trading is already hard enough, right? We already go through so much bullshit as a trader. Not having technical issues is like the minimum. Like, that's all we ask for, right? Just let the server work. Apex had a period, I think it was like, what was it, last year? I think it was like last September or something like that. They had like a month or two where they were kind of like changing their systems or something. And Rhythmic was having a ton of issues. And it lasted like a month or so. But after that, once it stabilized, I mean, knock on wood, I'm probably jinxing it. But after that, they haven't had too many issues. The best they can do is let me lose in peace, yeah. Yeah, if you're tracking, like, the US stock market, looking at SPY or Qs, QQQ, or looking at ES and NASDAQ are probably the best. If you have data for ES and NASDAQ, I would look at those. Excuse me, if you don't have data for them, I would look at SPY and Qs. By the way, bear flag and the VWAP is playing out on NASDAQ. You didn't quite get there on ES. You are failing the 24 EMA. Kind of the same thing. Bear flag into the 24. You finally had some buyers coming in, but they are kind of being absorbed on that 52 to 55. Putting in a higher low here. See if it can stay above the 24. If not, you're just going right back down. Basically, one more push down should fill in the gap. The gap is already filled in on NQ, but not on ES. I don't like 24-hour trading, to be honest. But I know it's kind of inevitable. Like, it's just going to happen. Where they're going to be truly 24/7. They kind of are 24/7 right now. But they have their breaks. Doesn't trade on Saturdays, stuff like that. I think we're pushing towards, like, true 24/7 on the futures market, possibly stock market. I don't think it's a good thing. I like that the stock and futures market is kind of systematic. It has its times where you know it's going to get a lot of volume and it's going to trade around those certain times, like 9:30, 11:30. It becomes like the crypto market where you're kind of just sitting there waiting for something to happen. The CME's website usually has some stuff on the rollovers, like the calendar and all that stuff. I'm sure like Investopedia or stuff like that has a bunch of articles on it. It's not something you deal with on like a day-to-day basis, so it's not that big of a deal, but you definitely do have to understand what's going on when the rollovers are actually happening, and they happen 4 times a year. Yeah, you'll always have like the problem is like as we go closer to 24/7, you're also developing more and more algo trading, artificial trading, non-human trading, right? If it was all humans, you would still be able to say this is about the time that people wake up in New York and like the East Coast. This is about the time they're going to start trading. You'd be able to do that based on human patterns, right? But with robots, they can trade all day. So you can't really figure out when the algos and whatnot are waking up. It's like right now with the market, we have this like London and US overlap around like the 8:30 to like 11:30 time frame. That's why we see so much volume, right? You have all the bots, you have all the retail traders, all the human traders. If it ever does go 24/7, I'm still probably just going to trade the same way that I trade now. And we'll just figure it out. I'm not going back to being a 24/7 trader. That shit is miserable. Still putting in a higher low, keep an eye on a higher high. A higher high leads directly into VWAP. Keep an eye on VWAP around 60. 295 on NQ. Man, I feel like I was getting over my cold, and I feel like I'm getting sick again. It's a pain in the ass. VWAP's still holding you down here. You do have a bulldog, but it's that bad variation where you're hitting VWAP as a resistance here. Hey, Scott, have a good day, man. And this is why the bulldog has a bad variation when it's hitting VWAP, because the VWAP usually pushes you down. VWAP typically wins that battle. Is it still more expensive with the 90% off, though? They're doing a 90% off. I think it ends today. Today's your last day. But I don't think they're more expensive after the 90%. Unless you're referring to like the paid activation fees and stuff like that. Still putting in higher lows here. Probably the first bullish cluster we've seen today of like actual delta stacked together. We have these little like one-off delta clusters, but this is an actual node of delta building up here on the buy side. A lot of buyers pushing into VWAP. You're actually starting to see the delta push up as well, the cumulative delta from those bullish clusters coming in. Trying to put us back into this rotation, possibly. Finishing the upper rotation on NASDAQ, ES. You're just now getting back into it, looking for 78. Ranger, I'm not 100% sure, so you'd have to ask them on that, but I believe to get the like discounted activation, you have to do it while the discount is going on. So I think if you want to get that paid activation discount, I think it's today. But like I said, I'm not 100%. They've done it in the past where they've extended the sale because of that. They've sent out emails saying like they'll extend it for like a week or whatnot. I don't know if they've extended this one. I don't see any emails on it. I think today's the last day. Yeah, they just sent out another email, funny enough. And it says it ends today. Oh, sorry. No. It's next Tuesday. Next Tuesday. I read Tuesday. I thought they meant today. Yeah, it's so funny. They're doing exactly what I just said. So they're extending it by a week for that, the paid activation fee. So it's 90% off. Yeah. So literally, funny enough, exactly what I just said. That's pretty funny. So the 90% off ends today, but the paid activation ends next Tuesday. So if you get the accounts now, you still have a week to pass them to get the paid activation thing. That's actually hilarious. Yeah, they usually do that around their big sales. If they have a big sale on like the paid activation fee, they usually give you like an extra week. It's like they're listening to the stream. I just got a text from them as well. Their automated system just texted me to remind me that. That's pretty funny. Still failing VWAP here. At least on ES. NASDAQ is trying to hold above it. We're finally starting to see that bullish delta coming in, but it's being absorbed by VWAP. VWAP's basically right here. Still absorbing VWAP here. You always want to take the most recent data, so like the full session of the current day is usually the best. But then obviously it goes day by day, so like then the next would be the prior day, the day just before. Their full session would be pretty strong as well. Yeah, Ranger, the 90% off is typically their highest sale. I don't think I've ever seen them go higher than 90. And I've been with them for years. They're usually around like 70 is their average. So now is definitely the best time to grab them if you've been waiting. If you guys need access to the indicators and you haven't already, just send me your most recent receipt using the code BREW. And then just let me know what your TradingView username is, and I'll give you 60 days access to the Momo, the OTS, the bots. Which we'll probably be doing a Momo Monday this coming up Monday. What's going on Monday? Let me see. Yeah, there's nothing crazy on Monday. So next Monday, if I remember, we'll do a Momo Monday. Yeah, the lifetime deals, they have some really good paid activation fee ones for sure. Yeah, I think that's part of the current deal. I think the current deal, most of the accounts are basically the same price. So you just pick which size you feel comfortable with. I think with our current volatility, the 50Ks are okay. If the volatility goes back to where it was very high, then you're better off with like the 250s or the higher ones, right? Like the 150s, 250s. This volatility is okay when it's kind of slow and stable. But when it gets crazy, the 50Ks are a little bit dangerous. Because even on your smallest size, trading like 1 micro, it's still moving. The PNL is still moving. Oh, 25Ks, which is why I've never recommended 25Ks. They're just too small for our current market. Even when the volatility goes down a lot, it's still too small. 50K is the minimum. And when volatility gets high, you want to go to like 250, 300. I've got sizing guides on the 50 and the 250, so just check those out if you guys need help. No, you don't get it. You don't get access to Discord with the partnership. It's just the indicators. You get 60 days for the Momo, the OTS, and the bots. Hopefully, to help you guys get funded. I used to keep track of how many members got funded. We did break 200, but then I stopped keeping track, so I'm not sure where we are now. Bear flag and VWAP still playing out on ES. Keep an eye on that prior low, anywhere from 40 down to like 35, 33. You're currently looking at Addis, but I trade mostly on Trade of 8. A lot of bearish block trades coming in. These are also not the 500 size that we're used to seeing. 1,000, 750, 1,200. Still need one more push down to finish filling in that rollover gap. Yeah, POC shifting down to this level, mostly from the block trades. Looks like there was a wall at 45. Where was the original wall? It was at 50. So we had a wall at 45, wall at 50. Still just sitting right on this gap fill. One push down fills in that gap. Looks like they're absorbing all the sellers down here. Yeah, the pink is a little hard to read. It's because it like double highlights. It's mostly hard to read on the sell orders. I might be able to make it like a little bit lighter. Or I guess darker would probably be better, I'm not sure. Well, unfortunately, the way the tape works, we're not going to be able to see the new ones until it refreshes. Yeah, that's way worse. So there's not a good color to make this highlight, unfortunately. Could try darker. The dark's not too bad. Still being absorbed on the low here, not pushing into that gap. The gap fill goes down to 24. So if it does push down, keep an eye on that 24. That will finish the gap fill. You have already finished it on NQ. The gap was on the pre-market. That pre-market overnight low was basically the gap fill almost to the tick. So still just rotating for now, but if we do break balance to the downside, just watch that gap fill. That's the obvious level. And then from that point on, just watch the trade plan. But all right, guys, we're going to call it there for the morning stream. I will be streaming in Discord for the rest of the day. If you guys are not in Discord, I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time as always. Today is the last day to get that 90% off for Apex if you guys use code BREW, B-R-E-W. If you guys do not have the indicators yet, the Momo, the OTS, and the bots, just send me an email. Let me know, hey, I used your code for Apex. Here's my TradingView username. And I'll get you guys added for a little trial. Here's my email. If you guys need it. If you guys enjoy the content, hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. If you guys are new here, I do stream 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, typically around 9:30 in the morning Eastern time. And we go until about right now. I also have a ton of educational content on my YouTube for free, so check that out if you guys have not already. But alright guys, I will see you guys tomorrow, same time as always. If you're in Discord, I will see you guys there. Peace everybody.